Good morning, my dear students. Today we are going to deal with our fifth module. Fifth module consists of two parts. The first part is about the materials management, and the second part is the safety management in the construction sites. Now, presently, let us deal with the materials management. The overview of this topic is we are going to cover concepts of materials management, inventory and inventory control in this video session. In the second video session, we will deal with the methods of inventory control, which is nothing but economic order quantity and ABC analysis. What do you mean by this material management? Material management is an integrated approach. For what? For managing the amount of materials that is going to be utilized for our construction works. So it is an integrated approach towards the management of materials. And what all things we are supposed to do in this activity of management? We are more concerned about the efficient flow of materials into the process, and which is passing through the process and coming out as the final product by means of the optimum use of the materials. So we are supposed to have efficient flow of materials to, through and out, and we ensure the optimum use of materials. It is meant for maximum coordination of all these activities, as well as keeping in mind the minimum expenditure over the materials. What does this material management deals with? We are dealing with the acquisition, that means buying, keeping within ourselves or getting it, storage, that means keeping for reserve, control and disposition of inputs like the raw materials, other materials, and which is going into the production process. These materials which is going into the production process is said to be it is directly involved in the material management, and it also consists of capital requirements, that is your money, tools, accessories, spare parts, and all this comes under this direct category of your materials management. And apart from this, we will also have indirect materials which is also required to be managed. So this indirect materials is based on the requirement of everyday operations of our construction projects. So what is this indirect materials deal with? For example, if you want to work a machinery, we may require some consumables like petrol, diesel, etc. Those comes under the indirect category of the materials. So dealing with all this is the role of material management. What is the major relevance of doing this material management? Material management is done because our total assets, whatever assets that we have in a construction work, is 50 to 80% is the contribution towards the materials and the stores that we have. So 50 to 80% of our total assets involved is in stores as well as materials. So that is why it is so relevant. Then there are obviously very much high complications in dealing with raw materials, brought out components from other places, sub-assemblies, etc. And all this underscore the need of a systematic management. Now, whenever you consider some of the components, those components will be having only specific uses, but there are components which can be used in many. So those having specific uses will obviously have a low flexibility, but those which are more in numbers will be having, or many uses for a single commodity may have much higher flexibility. So we require more care when you consider the procurement, storage, handling and distribution of the materials. So what are the major objectives of material management. The major objective is to reduce the cost of materials by means of scientific tools and techniques, and efficient use of inventories, which helps in releasing the working capital for productive purposes. That means efficient use of inventories should go directly into the productive purposes. We should not waste any materials over there. Ensure uniform flow of materials for production. That means our production process will be continuous. Ensure availability of right quantity of materials, and obviously the quality of materials also at right time, so that our productions will not be affected. Then establish and maintain good supplier relations. Unless otherwise good supplier relations are maintained, we are not going to get the materials of right quantity and right quality at right time. Now, bring in economy in using imported items and replace it with substitutes. If you are using any imported items, you have to be very careful because that has more charges. So find a solution. If at all anything goes wrong for such materials, can we replace it by the substitutes which is available locally? And ensure lower departmental costs, better customer service, and maintain ethical standards and practices. So these 7 objectives are the objectives of materials management. When you come across the material management, the major term that we come across is something known as inventory. Now, inventory is nothing but it comprises of stores as well as materials in transit. That means whatever product that you are manufacturing, the materials which is going into it, and the materials which is in the process of manufacturing, and the finished products and stocks which is lying in company showroom and distribution centers which have not been sold. So this total entity which consists of raw materials which is just coming into the process, which are in the process, and which are finished of products and stocks are said to be, or the total of this is said to be the inventory. Now, since it is such a big process, we may have to deal with it very carefully. So that is why we have to have something known as inventory control. So the inventory control is a planned method. So the controlling obviously can have a planned method only. So whereby the investment in inventories held in stock is maintained in such a manner that it ensures proper and smooth flow of materials needed for the production operations as well as sales. That means, it means to say that the process should be so held in hand, that is controlled in such a manner that we have total assurance on a proper flow or smooth flow of the materials into the process of production, as well as whatever finished products are available, it is ready for the sale purpose. So meeting all this is something known as inventory control. And another important factor in inventory control is that the total cost of investment in inventories is kept to be minimal. So that also is an assurance that we can have by doing an effective inventory control. So what are the major functions of this inventory control? The major functions of inventory control are these. So the first one is, you all know that any activities or the entire construction process consists of many activities. So for each and every activity, we may have different requirements of materials as well as the capital. So it is the role of inventory control to separate and isolate these different operations and make them independent as possible so that each operation can be performed very economically. And the second important point or second major function is that maintain smooth and efficient production flow. By doing a proper inventory control, proper assurance of the flow of materials as well as the capital is ensured. Thereby we shall maintain smooth and efficient production flow. Now, whenever we require, we have to purchase the required materials. So inventory control helps to find out what are the desired quantities of materials that is to be purchased and at what time, so that it nullifies the effect of changes in prices as well as supply. So that is one of the major function of inventory control. Now, the major point is that the process will be continuously operating. There will not be any stoppage of the production process because we are getting uninterrupted material flow as well as the capital flow. That is why the process will be continuous throughout. Now, protecting inventory from losses due to improper handling, storing and unauthorized removal from the stores. This is very important point in inventory control. If you have surplus amount unnoticed in some locations or places, probably that material will be lost by means of improper handling or improper storing, and there are possibilities of these materials being stolen out from the process. So this is nothing termed here as unauthorized removal from the stores. So this theft or vandalism can be avoided, and it is very important that by doing a efficient inventory control, that helps in pricing all materials that is supplied to the stores. So each and every component, either directly or indirectly taking part into the production process or the inventory, is being priced so that we will not miss out any of the materials of the pricing operation. And apart from all this, we have another important major function that create a motivational effect. That means a customer who is going to buy a material will have a wider choices and wider options that he can choose through. So if at all a person will normally purchase any material, if we have wider choices, probably he takes out different samples to test or different samples to consume. So in one way, this is a motivational effect for a subscriber or a utilizer to opt for, and that is the major function of an inventory control. So these 7 points are the major functions of inventory control. So there are different types of inventories. The types of inventories are generally categorized into two. It is based on use and based on function. So in the based on use, here we can have two other subcategories which is going into directly. That means that category is nothing but our raw materials, purchased parts, production inventories, etc. And those are in process inventories. That also comes under the category of direct inventories. And you also know that whenever a product is in roll or it is being utilized, you will have obviously maintenance, repair and operational services. That means MRO that supplies, that is normally a indirect material. So we have direct materials and indirect materials within the types of inventories when classified based on use. And apart from this, upon based on use, we have another type of inventory which is coming under the category of finished goods inventories. So whenever a finished goods inventories is there which is going to get utilized, that is also categorized as the inventories based on use. Now Another major type of inventory is classified based on function. So, whenever a product is being utilized in one of the companies, say X, now for which we have a material, say B, which is going to be utilized in this area of in this product. So if that is being transported from one place to the another, this movement or transit of inventories is for the it is classified, that inventories is classified based on function, unless otherwise that material which is being manufactured elsewhere, that B material which is being manufactured elsewhere, reaches this position wherein we are going to manufacture material has arrived, this is not going to get complete. So hence, based on function, we have movement and transit inventories. Now we have something known as lot size inventories. It is based on function. So whenever you order a material, we will get not in 1 or 2, it will be in a lot size. So lot size inventories comes into picture, that is classified based on function. And fluctuation inventories, keeping in mind there will be fluctuation in the availability of the materials, we keep something known as fluctuation inventories. And anticipation inventories also is there. These type of inventories are classified, or the types of inventories which is classified based on function. So there are two classification on the types of inventories, based on use as well as based on function. So this is how to do the inventory control, which we shall see in the next